Garcia, el Judge Ricardo Samaniego. Everybody, can you please mute your microphones or speakers if you're here in the room? All right, Representative Sarah Silva and Tomas Trevino. All right, so we do have quorum, Mr. Chair.
We have a quorum. Do we have anyone signed up for open comment period?
Yes,
We do.
we have Mr. Omar Martinez.
All right, as a reminder for those.
Comment period, speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair and members of the Transportation Policy Board. My name is Omar Martinez with the City of El Paso. The City of El Paso is pleased to formally announce the release of solicitation number 2026-0238R for the Isleta Port of Entry Feasibility Study and Master Plan. The solicitation is available on the Capital Improvements Department procurement website, which can be accessed at www.elpasotexas.gov/capital-improvement/solicitation. The solicitation initiates a comprehensive evaluation of future capacity needs, operational improvements, and multimodal connectivity and long-range expansion strategies at the Isleta Port of Entry. The selected consultant team will assess freight mobility, traffic modeling, environmental considerations, and work towards a revision of the port's presidential permit and infrastructure phasing to ensure the port remains competitive and resilient. Work includes identifying and evaluating short-term solutions that can be implemented using existing facilities, infrastructure, and operational resources to provide immediate and near-term improvements to the Isleta Port of Entry, while longer-term capital projects and facility expansions are developed and implemented. Completing this study as soon as possible positions the City of El Paso to compete effectively for state and federal infrastructure funding. The deadline for submission of statements of qualifications is March 18, 2026. The city aims to have approved contracts in June of 2026. We look forward to coordinating closely with the EPMPO, regional partners, the Isleta del Sur Pueblo, the City of Socorro, and state and federal agencies as this feasibility study advances. Thank you.
Do we have any more speakers signed up? Okay. Seeing no additional speakers, the comment period is now closed. We'll move on to discussion and action items.
Mr. Chair, if I could, just as a reminder, for those board members that are participating by video, the reminder is that in order for you to vote or to make any motions, you must have your camera on. Nick, do you hear the law enforcement here? Person, do you want to?
No, we would just respectfully request for the duration of the meeting, if they could keep their cameras on. And again, as Mr. Calvo indicated, their votes will only count if their camera's on at the time that they vote.
All right, so then moving on now to discussion and action. Item number 1 is to consider approval of the minutes of the January 23, 2026 TPB meeting.
We have a motion? Motion approved. You have a question?
I do, Chairman, thank you. I was reviewing the minutes, and I think there's a discrepancy that I would like to point out on item number 4 from the previous meeting, nominating a vice chairperson of the Transportation Policy Board. The second part of it where it says amend motion to nominate and elect Commissioner Diana Olguin as vice chairperson of the Transportation Policy Board, made by Mayor Bernard Johnson and seconded by Representative Alejandra Chavez. I think that motion was made by Mayor Cruz, and I'm not sure who seconded it, but I just wanted to correct the record.
Do we know who seconded it? Is that person here?
We're going to go back and check the recording, but we'll definitely make that the change.
Okay. Do we need to make a motion to amend? So we have a motion to amend the minutes. We have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Back to the original item.
Yeah, to consider approval of the minutes.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Second. We have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
All right. Thank you. All right. Item number 2 is consider adoption of the El Paso MPO's annual financial report performed by the external auditing firm of Macias, Guinea and O'Connell LLP for the year ended August 31st, 2025. So I'm not going to steal George's thunder, but we have George Nostroza and the Corbett Nixon from MGO that will present have a short presentation on the audit, and then, of course, they're here to answer any questions. So, George?
Hello, good morning. My name is George Nostroza, Administrative Services Manager with the El Paso MPO. And we have,
Hello, everyone. I'm Corbett Nixon. I'm a senior manager for Macias, Guinea and O'Connell, your independent auditors.
okay, so the El Paso MPO's FY25 financial statements were issued as a result of a single audit, which is required for any federal entity that expends $1 million or more in federal funds in a given year. Single audit consists of 2 elements. Number 1, to determine whether the El Paso MPO's financial statement balances so that the auditors have reasonable assurance that they're stated fairly. And number 2, to determine whether the El Paso MPO remains in compliance with federal and state granting requirements. The key performance measure in our FY25 financial statements that deserves pointing out is that revenues increased 240% from $2.5 million in FY24 to $6 million in FY25. This more than double increase in activity and output is a reflection that the El Paso MPO keeps operating at a very high level, all while maintaining compliance with our FHWA, FTA, TCQ, NMDOT, and our main grantor, TxDOT, that we comply with the granting requirements. Thank you. I'll go ahead and leave it to Corbett next. Thank you.
Okay. And we can move to the next slide. Okay, so it is a pleasure for me to be here. This is actually my first year working with the Metropolitan Planning Organization as part of an engagement leader, but had the pleasure of learning to work with your team and getting to know them and the MPO writ large. And it's been just a real pleasure having that experience. This is just a brief outline for us and a little bit of housekeeping. This is meant to be an informational session. So if there's any questions, any clarity that we can provide or I can provide, please feel free to speak up and interject. Happy to give any further context that we can. Next slide. As your independent auditors, we'd like to start out with our responsibilities. Essentially, why we're here is to provide our audit opinion. That opinion is over your financial statements and whether or not they're material or free of material misstatement under generally accepted accounting practices or GAAP. In order to express this opinion, we have to develop an audit approach under generally accepted auditing standards as provided by the AICPA. So in developing that, we have to gain an understanding of your organization, of your internal controls, and develop that approach under those standards. Our understanding of the internal controls is really meant for the purpose of developing our audit approach. If there's any findings that we do have in terms of internal control weaknesses, those are reported to yourselves and to management over the course of the audit. It's important to note that although we do assess your internal controls and gain an understanding of them, we're not providing a specific opinion on the design, implementation, and functionality of the internal controls of the MPO. As such, when we say there's no findings, we did not design our approach explicitly to have findings regarding to your internal control structure. On top of the generally accepted auditing standards as prescribed by the AICPA, we also are applying our audit approach under governmental auditing standards as provided by the Comptroller General of the United States. These further standards incorporate additional requirements related to our independence, judgment, and reporting on internal controls, which you'll see as part of our single audit opinions. Next slide. So we've issued the following items as part of this engagement. The audit report of the basic financial statements for the year ended August 31st, 2025, along with the single audit reports and that includes state grants from the states of Texas and New Mexico. On top of that, we also provide our report to those charged with governance, which is a separate letter provided to the board. Next slide. So audit timing. So this audit timing and plan was previously communicated to the board and management. And it's all we are required to review it as part of the results of the audit. We did plan to have interim procedures performed during September, October, final field work occurring October through January, and reporting and presentation happening within February. We would like to note that we did not have any changes to our audit plan this year. It was executed as planned, which is a note to management and the effectiveness of their ability to meet the requirements of the audit. The report was dated on January 28th, 2026, which aligned with the requirements put forth by the city of El Paso. And of course, we do provide year-round collaboration with management. Next slide. Okay, and opinions. So kind of the root of the matter is the opinions applied to our report. So we did have an unmodified opinion on the basic financial statements. Unmodified is the highest level of assurance we can provide. It's what the nomenclature would call a clean audit report. So no concerns related to the financial statements. We also had an unmodified opinion on the compliance with federal audits and with uniform guidance. So the single audit also had an unmodified or clean audit opinion. Also would like to note that reporting on internal controls as part of the single audit procedures performed, we did not have any material weaknesses and did not identify any significant deficiencies. And something that we noted with the executive committee previously, a note or a change that occurred this year in this year's audit is just due to the large increase in revenues and expenditures that the MPO had over fiscal year 2025. We effectively had to double the amount of procedures performed as part of the single audit. We actually had to audit an entirely separate federal program on top of the program we had previously done. So with that in mind, with the doubling of those level of procedures, I think it's commendable that we did not have those issues noted. Next slide. Required communications, those charged with governance. So this is the third deliverable that was provided, which is the letter to yourselves. And should have been previously distributed. It's really containing the required communications under the standards that we need to provide to you all related to matters of the audit. And this is kind of listing out those items where there might be something of note to you all. I typically consider this like our screen of no's because we really didn't have any major significant issues over the course of the audit or issues with management. And next slide. And then we always finish off with just kind of the GASB pronouncements that are both implemented and upcoming. So this year we did implement two separate new GASB standards. Compensated absences, which is related to the accruals of said compensated absences, and then GASB 102, certain risks and disclosures. Neither of these had a material impact on the financial statements of the MPO. And then upcoming GASB pronouncements effective in the future, GASB 103, financial reporting model and improvements, GASB 104, disclosure of certain capital assets, and GASB 105, subsequent events. although I don't think that they'll have material impacts, GASB 103 will probably have some impact on the nature and content of the management's discussion and analysis of the financial statements going forward, as it's meant to make that essentially a more effective communication tool going forward and formalizing some of the communications that are included there. Disclosure of certain capital assets, I don't believe will have an impact on MPO, but it's not effective for the next year. And then GASB 105 is new, but it's really just a formalization of the assessment of subsequent events for any financial statements being issued and what is required to be disclosed upon. And next slide. And to finish off our prepared remarks, are there any questions that I could answer at this time?
Thank you. Just wanted to understand, there's no corrective actions. This was a clean audit, but the prior year there was one corrective action. So can you tell me a little bit more about the methodology that you used to come back and kind of report if that corrective action was implemented correctly?
Yeah, certainly. So, and if you look at the very end of the financial statements, there is some communication regarding the prior year findings. And what essentially, because it was part of the actual financial reporting that the finding was on for last year, was a significant deficiency. Our basic audit procedures that identified that last year would have identified it this year. It was essentially accruals, not necessarily being entirely properly recorded. So we did not identify any similar issues and consider it to be a mitigated control issue.
Members, any other questions? Great, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I could just add a couple of things. This is the second time that we do our standalone audit. Before this, the El Paso audit was part of the City of El Paso audit. So we were just pretty much like a line item in the city's audit. But as a result of the conversations that we had a few years ago, it was agreed upon. And I think it's a really good thing that we are now doing our own audits. And that's why we, this is the second year that we do this. I really want to give a shout out to George and Odette that take care of all the administrative stuff here for the MPO, especially the last couple of years, because we, as you will see later, we have increased the activity of the MPO with additional grants. We're doing some really cool things, but that requires a lot more work. And so, the fact that we're working well and the fact that there are no major findings, it's a relief. It's a good thing, but it's a relief as well. But yeah, there's a lot of activity going on with the MPO, as we will explain later. All right, so with that, I think we do need a motion to adopt.
Do we have a motion to adopt the MPO's annual financial report? Second. We have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion's adopted. Item 3.
All right, item 3. Consider authorizing the executive director to execute an amendment to the agreement between El Paso MPO and MGO for auditing services to increase compensation by $7,500 to cover additional work required to audit a second major federal program for the fiscal year 2025 audit. So as a result of the additional activity and given that when we brought in MGO to provide the auditing services, the quote that we got was assuming that there was going to be more of the standard operation of the MPO, the standard, as far as having about in the ballpark of about $2.5 million worth of revenues. But not only that, but it was limited to a certain amount of grants. Given that the increase in the activity and given that the corporate mentioned they needed to do a sort of like a second set of tests and so on, they requested this additional fund to cover the additional work. And in the agreement, there's also a provision that for the third year, which of their contract or the agreement that we have with them. If we have to do the same thing, then the fee would increase by 7,500 as well. We had a discussion with them. We negotiated, so they're taking a little bit of they're eating some of the additional costs as well. But I think it's a fair deal. So the staff recommends approval of this.
So just to be clear, you said the fee will increase by 7,500 or it will remain 7,500?
No, so the original agreement was for a flat fee of 37,500, I believe. So in addition to the 37,500, we would be increasing that for this year, 7,500.
Members, any questions?
And if you have any difficult questions, forward will answer them.
Do we have a motion? We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 4.
All right, item 4 is consider adoption of the safety performance measure PM1 2026 targets. A, for the state of New Mexico PM1 targets, and B, the state of Texas PM1 targets. And we have Jennifer Moreno from El Paso MPO with a presentation.
Good morning, Chair and members. So today we're going to present the updates on the trend lines for Texas as well as for New Mexico and report the targets for the 2026 safety targets. Next slide, please. So here on slide, it's just an introduction of how targets are established for the MPO. These targets, safety targets are 5 measure performance. So we need to report targets for those 5 measure performance annually. We have the option to choose to support the Texas and the state targets or to do our regional targets. Considering that for regional, we'll have to consider both sites, Texas and New Mexico, as a MPO planning area. Next slide. Next slide, please. Here's just a background on how if we decide to support the targets of the states, or if we choose to report our regional targets. Those are the measures that have to be followed. So on this slide, you'll see the number of fatalities that trends for the Texas and New Mexico compared to the regional numbers for each Texas and New Mexico. These are the fatalities of numbers. You'll see some differences on the data reported. For Texas, we have up to 2024. For New Mexico, we only have up to 2023 since the moment that these numbers were reported. We only have available up to 2023. But we already make action to request the numbers since New Mexico already published the 2024 targets. I mean the 2024 numbers. Next slide. So here on screen, you'll see the trends for the numbers of serious injuries. Similar to the previous slide, numbers are presented by state, and on the left, right, you'll see the number of serious injuries on the Texas compared to the regional numbers for El Paso. And on the right side, you'll see the numbers of New Mexico compared to our portion of New Mexico, the numbers that are reported. Next slide, please. So here on screen, you'll see some information that was reported on our safety plan. Those are the numbers of regional fatal injury crashes compared to the number of fatalities reported from 2019 to 2023. So those are the numbers based on the CRIS and the New Mexico reporting portal. Next slide, please. As you all know, back in November of last year, we adopted our safety plan regionally. Those are the numbers and the targets that we reported to follow on that plan. We continue tracking all the process, we're collecting data to see the reportings and follow the trend lines to keep track of the progress. Next slide, please. So now, on the following slides, you'll see the numbers presented for the New Mexico side for the statewide targets. Next slide, please. Here on screen, you'll see the number of fatalities reported for New Mexico. For this time, New Mexico is following a 2026 for number of fatalities of, that it's on screen. You'll see the number of fatalities is 445 number. Next slide, please. The number of serious injuries in New Mexico is stating to go with 1,010 as of 2026 target. Next slide. The rate of fatalities, the target for 2026 is stayed at 1.644. Next slide. For serious injuries, 2026 target reported at 3.8. Next slide, please. And for the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries, 2026 target for New Mexico stayed at 200. Next slide, please. So here on screen, you'll see a summary of comparing the 2025 targets to the 2026, and you'll see New Mexico, in this case, decided to stay steady on the targets reported for this new year. To follow the vision area that they're trying to aim to not increase the targets and make a reduction or stay steady on the reporting. Next slide, please. Now you'll see the numbers for Texas. Next slide, please. So on the state of Texas, there was a bit of an adjustment on the targets reported for the 2026 targets. So now they're following a recommendation from FHWA to update the methodology to follow, to establish targets based on data, not much of an aspirational target. So previously there was reporting following a line on downward for the targets following the vision serial implementation. But for these 2026 targets, there were some adjustments on the methodology followed. So now they're following, calculating it by the 5 data points from historical crash data instead of following a downward turn. Next slide, please. On number of serious injuries, the target was established at 18,884. Next slide, please. For rate of fatalities, target stayed at 1.44. Next slide, please. For serious injuries, Texas is reporting a target of 6.3. Next slide. And for non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries, here is a trend, and the target stayed at 2,802. Next slide, please. So here is a summary of the Texas targets compared to the 2025 target established back last year to the 2026 targets are established this year. So as you'll see, there's some adjustment by following the methodology recommended by FHWA to make the targets established by using historical data. Next slide, please. Right now, with take-back recommendation, we're following to establish the state targets for New Mexico and Texas. If you have any questions, I'm open to.
Any questions? Thank you so much.
So, Mr. Chair, if I could add a little bit, when it comes to safety, we are required to adopt either the state targets or we can come up with our own, which is, pretty complicated and onerous. But I think the philosophical question really is when it comes to safety, as opposed to when the other targets that we have to get, like, to report, like, like pavement scores and bridge condition and stuff like that. But when it comes to safety, when we're talking about fatalities and serious injuries, there's changes in the methodology and so on, and we have to adopt something, right, to check the box for the requirement that we need to fulfill from the federal agencies, right? But at the end of the day, I think what really is important is what we do locally. What are the actions that we're going to take to reduce and ultimately, I know it's an aspirational goal, but to eliminate fatalities and serious injuries, right? So I think the focus, at least what we are doing at the MPO, the focus is not so much on running numbers and all that, but it's more like what are some of the actions that we can take to really, really reduce fatalities and accidents, right? Not crashes, but accidents, right? And that's going to be the focus going on with our Vision Zero committee in terms of, we don't want to have more plans and more meetings and more committees and so on. I mean, what are some of the actions that we can make, whether it's, regionally build sidewalks, improve sidewalks, safety lighting projects and so on. But anyway, so I'm going a little bit on a tangent there, but just wanted to make sure that that even though we adopt the statewide targets for New Mexico DOT and TxDOT, we've got to do something here locally, and we're trying to do that.
Any questions? Do we have a motion to adopt the safety performance measures PM1 2026 targets? Motion, we have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
All right. Now we move on to reports and discussion. Item 5 is discuss the El Paso MPO's cash flow outlook for fiscal years 2026 and 2029. So we can bring it up on the screen. So this item, again, is related to the item that where we presented the audit, just to show the board on a cash flow perspective. This is not a perfect P&L statement, but it's more the cash flow to show where we are and to give you all an idea of how the revenue side of the equation has increased through other grants that we have been pursuing and receiving. And that it is important to state that the basic revenues that we receive from planning funds coming in from the Federal Highway Administration and the Federal Transit Administration, we get a piece. Most of the funds that we receive come from the Texas side through TxDOT, but we also receive some from the New Mexico side through New Mexico DOT. Right, so those are the ones that you see here at the top. And, the ballpark, it varies a little bit by year, but we receive in the ballpark of about $2 million per year, right? Those are funds that are distributed to MPOs based on a formula, mostly considering population. So all 24 MPOs in the state of Texas receive planning funds, and was it the 6 MPOs in the state of New Mexico as well. Those funds are pretty much to cover the core activities of the MPO, to do our UPWP, to do the long range plan, to maintain the transportation program, etc. All the work that is spelled out in the federal transportation law that MPOs have to do. But what I think is really cool, and we're really, really excited and proud of that, is that in addition to the core activities that the MPO does per law, we are looking for other grants to do additional work. And you see those pretty much on the top of the grants, the color coded. We've come here before you several times to request action on TCEQ, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality Rider 7. That's a program to look at pollutants, I guess they like us because they keep giving us money year after year after year. So that's a really cool thing. So we've been using those funds to develop some of the tools for measuring emissions and so on. The green one, New Mexico SPR, those are federal planning funds that are assigned to the state DOTs. So we have applied for those funds and we've been successful in receiving funds to do several things. New Mexico DOT, I think this is the third time that we received funds to help us improve our travel demand model. And in this case, the international travel demand model that we're using for our strategic plan for border crossings. And then this one, the Safe Streets for All, that's a grant that we applied and received precisely to do our safety action plan, $750,000. We completed that. And we came here to the board next for the IBC strategic plan, $2 million to develop the strategic plan for our border crossings and help us understand, better the operation of our border crossings. And then finally, with the New Mexico Border Authority, another $2 million to do the analysis of the impacts of the implementation of their border highway connector project that would connect Santa Teresa to McNutt in the vicinity of the city of Sunland Park. But as we know, all that traffic will go in, not all, but a good chunk of that traffic is going to go into Texas. So we need to evaluate those. So, I mean, all that is good work that is important for the MPO to be leading. But if you see now if you add up all the revenues, so the $2 million that we get on planning funds plus the additional grants that we have been receiving, that's a good chunk. And so just to explain the table, if you can scroll down a little bit. So these are color coded so that you can see, for example, the top one, the TCEQ, which is in that orange color, that grant corresponds or pays for the task orders that we have issued to TTI and UTEP to cover that, right? So the good thing about these grants is that, we may, and some of them, we may keep a little bit for administration that helps, for our payroll and so on. But it's pretty much all around. Right? So we cannot spend more than the total amount of the grant. And so on. So that explains all the additional, or all of the activity here and task orders for UTEP, TTI for UTEP, Urban Sim, which is another big improvement for when we got the Urban Sim to develop a land use model for us. That helps with the development of our long range plan. And then the general planning consultant, WSP, that's helping us with a bunch of things. Well, that's how the task orders are matching with the grants. Can you scroll down to the bottom line? All right, so the bottom part here of the table are the miscellaneous, or these are more like the operation, the lease, the websites, copier and so on. So the bottom line, you go down. I mean, the bottom line here is this is at the end of the year, 2024, which is actual. This is our balance, right? That carries over to the following year. So we've been, we still have, even though we're spending and doing a lot of really good things, we feel comfortable with the projections in terms of the expenditures that we have, so that, we always carry a safe amount of dollars, of carryover, especially now when, there's so much more uncertainty than the past, in the past years with government shutdowns, and now the transportation bill that's up for reauthorization in the fall of this year. And so it's a good thing to have some cash there for emergencies, for unforeseen circumstances. So we feel pretty confident about that. If anything changes in terms of the outlook or planning funds or whatever that could affect our revenues, then of course we will adjust the expenditures to make sure that we are always in the black, never in the red. So again, the table is in your backup. Happy to answer any questions, any comments now or later on if you have any thoughts in this. But But this is what we use pretty much to help us plan our expenditures for the next 4 years.
Great, thank you.
Okay, all right. So then, the last item is the executive director's report. A couple of really important things with the Texas Transportation Committee meeting. So I attended the meeting and spoke on a couple of items. The first one was supporting the city of El Paso's application for a SIB loan that they're using to provide the match for several projects that's a really good thing. But related to that, another an announcement that was made last week was the appointment of Pat Gordon to the Texas Transportation Commission. So as you know, the chairman of the commission, Chairman Bug, passed away unfortunately last year. So there was one vacancy in the commission. So Pat Gordon was appointed by the governor. It was made official last week. So that's an exciting piece of news for us here in the region. And we as the MPO, we look forward to working with Commissioner Gordon, and we really hope that he does a good job there as a member of the commission.
Just a note, Eduardo, this is the first time in the Texas Transportation Commission's history with 2 border members serving. So our hope is that they can combine their efforts and bring home the bacon, I guess the tocino, if it's the border, right? We're really excited about it and really excited about Pat Gordon's appointment.
Absolutely. All right, so the next one, the joint meeting of a Texas Border Transportation Master Plan and El Paso MPO International Border Crossing Strategic Plan that was held on February the 3rd. So again, this is we were able to combine the 2 efforts that are similar in nature. TxDOT is doing the border master plan that covers the entire border from El Paso all the way to Brownsville. And of course, we're doing our strategic plan that covers our region here. So there's a lot of, there's overlap between the 2, clearly some differences, but we're trying to do this to try to reduce or minimize the amount of meetings, where stakeholders, like many of you participated. We want to avoid stakeholder fatigue and make sure that these meetings are productive and helpful. So that was a very good meeting. Related to that, item C is a Border Trade Advisory Committee meeting that was held in Eagle Pass on February the 10th. Again, BTAC is a statewide committee that is created by state law, and it's chaired by the Secretary of State for the state of Texas, in this case, Madam Nelson. And so the meeting was in Eagle Pass. It was a big success. It was a really big deal there in Eagle Pass. We had not only members from BTAC, but the local participation was great. The mayor, the county judge, State Rep Eddie Morales, and a lot of people were there in attendance and some presentations and so on. So we are looking to bring BTAC to El Paso so we can host it again sometime in the near future. So hopefully we can make a good show of in support of BTAC and all the trade activities that are going on. That's all I have as far as the report. Happy to answer any questions or comments, thoughts.
Members, any questions? All right. No items for executive session. Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, before we adjourn, a couple more just comments. As I said earlier, the next meeting, the March meeting, there's no more training. Hopefully everybody is trained enough and you have your hours. So the board meeting will start, the official meeting starts at 9 o'clock. We're back to the usual starting time of 9 a.m. here in this room. That's all I have.
Great. Thank you very much. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Motion. Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Passes. TPB meeting March 20th, 2026.